Converting a Vision into an Action Plan. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our moderator for this session, Dr. Jamal Mashrouh, Senior Fellow at the Policy Center for the New South. Dr. Suhail Inayatullah, UNESCO Chair in Future Studies, IIUM, Professor at Tamkang University, Editor of the Journal of Future Studies, and researcher at MetaFuture. Jair Lafontaine, Foresight Strategist at Cognizant. Dr. Ivana Milojevic, Director and Instructor at the MetaFuture School. Dr. Geci Karuri-Sebina, Associate Professor at Digital Governance and Coordinator of the Civic Tech Innovation Network at Wits School of Governance, Tayarisha African Center of Excellence in Digital Governance. Mr. Kristian Bartholin, Secretary to the CAI and Head of Digital Development Unit at the Council of Europe. Ms. Sandra Coulibaly Leroy, Foresight Expert at the International Organization of la Francophonie. Dr. Hala Abu Ali, Vice President at the Institute of National Planning, Arab Republic of Egypt. And Dr. Naifa Jamal Faris, Dean of College of Engineering at the Prince Mohammad bin Fahd University. Dr. Jamal Mashrouh, the floor is yours.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this second day of this conference that focuses on foresight. I'm very happy to be a moderator of this session. Foresight is vital when it's about foresight in movement, a dynamic foresight, an action-based foresight. The second reason for which I'm very happy today, we have some panelists from all continents, with the exception of Latin America. We have Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America, Australia. So these are experts who have been thinking on foresight, and they have experience and expertise. They have stories to share with us, practical stories to transform thoughts in the form or into actions. Not to be short, I would give the floor to the first panelist, Mr. Jamal Naifik, who will talk on behalf of Mr. Faisal Alanezi, General Secretary of the Arab
Université Prince Mohammad bin Fahd. Donc la parole est à vous, Monsieur Jamal Naifik.
Good morning. I assume I need the clicker somehow.
It's here. Sorry.
Again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm delighted and honored to be here. I was going to say something. It's a last-minute change. So Dr. Faisal was supposed to give the talk, and I was introduced by my name, but I wanted to say like I'm his avatar today. And I guess when your boss is not around, you can always step in and do that, minus the thobe. He was yesterday in the Saudi traditional. I am a professor. A little bit of being in here, but we all do the future somehow and the foresight. So I will give my side of the story in a new initiative that we've done at PMU, which is the Prince Mohammad bin Fahd University.
In 2006, the vision of His Royal Highness Prince Mohammad bin Fahd was realized here in the Eastern Province. His dream was to have an institution of higher education here locally.
His Royal Highness Prince Mohammad bin Fahd steered the immense efforts of businessmen, local academics, and even international consultants The PMU administrative and full academic systems were designed by the Texas International Education Consortium, and the idea was that this would, in time, make the accreditation process easier.
PMU is a learner-centered environment. This is an integral part of our educational philosophy, which focuses on global competencies. We constantly review the set of competencies in the light of global developments and global changes. That is the culmination of the student's career. These remarkable skills enhance student cognitive flexibility, critical and creative thinking, emotional intelligence, and effective communication, as well as professional skills, teamwork, and leadership.
These soft skills and competencies, such as communication, critical thinking, or leadership, they're essential for us as individuals, but they're even crucial for us in professional settings. They not only help us adapt and function locally, but also anywhere in the world on a global scale as global citizens.
Our students are the center of the university. Everything is built around.
PMU has established centers for research in cybersecurity, AI, and futuristic studies. We have endowments for research in areas ranging from renewable energies and nanotechnologies to youth development and peace and tolerance.
Prince Mohammad bin Fahd Center for Futuristic Studies is the first of its kind in the region. It involves professors and students, and also it conducts research in a variety of fields, including the future of youth, the future of education, the future of energy, the future of environment. The magnitude of our center that runs simulation programs, anticipatory systems, future literacy labs, is certainly able to prepare students to assume leading roles in their future workplaces and future communities.
Being a PMUer has become a synonym for challenge,
professional,
great workplace,
second home,
young, dynamic,
challenge, good citizenship,
family,
loyal, pride,
future leader,
personal growth and development,
meeting and overcoming,
entrepreneurial,
second home, achievement, accomplished,
community,
diversity,
happy learner,
quality,
growth, forward outlook, and global citizenship.
Okay, well, thank you for that 2-minute video. I think it eats up a little of my time, so my 2 minutes probably are gone already. I start with a disadvantage in here. But, you know, it's the theme, and I got a chance to meet all the speakers here, the panelists in here, and I'm going to learn and also project some of the views that we have and things. So, that being said, it's the Industrial Revolution 4.0 that everybody's talking about, of course. And being at an institution of higher education, you got to keep updating, upgrading the courses, the curricula, probably new programs, just to keep up with technology. And being a technologist myself as an engineer, I guess, it is like our job to keep in sync with what's going on and get our students the tools when they push out of the institution. So this is, you know, the fusion of technologies, Industrial Revolution 4.0, it's there, it's in the curriculum. If you don't know it as a professor, of course, your students will beat you to the game, beat you up, and use it. ChatGTP is already there, and people are doing wonderful things with it. So we have to embrace tools and make the best out of it, and that's probably any institution that want to survive, really, and be like a sought after, maybe not just a ranking, but also your graduates to be employable, you got to get with it. So it's ubiquitous. It's in everything that we do. I like some of the quotes. Of course, this guy, he's a novelist, yes, but he's also an engineer and inventor. And as such, I think the pace of things, that the way that they're going, it's at the speed of light, if you will. So the 21st, this is a Ray Kurzweil, if you read his stuff, of course. The rate at which things are happening, it's tremendous. Okay, if you look at the time rate of things and model it as equations, stuff like that, it's exponential. So the code that I have from here is the 21st century will be equivalent to 20,000 years of progress at today's rates. Things are compressed. Things are Every day there's something that's coming out, and we got to keep up with it. If you look at the 18th century, the first industrial revolution, you can see it squeezed closer to the 19th century. The 20th century, look what's happening in terms of the second, third, and now it is artificial intelligence. It's mixed reality. It's digital everywhere you go. So that's probably a little bit of, for us and academics, I guess, we got to stay on our toes and be ready for it. 5G is reality. A lot of people probably didn't think it is before, but look at that and what brings in terms of there are billions of people, but there are way more billions of devices and things are connected. So we talk about Internet of Things. Of course, we talk it in everyday life, ourselves, our Siris and Alexias, but also in the industry. The industrial Internet of Things is making people, processes, products, everything probably more efficient, of course, more affordable, and doing the job better than ever before. So we're on with the technology, we have to provide that one. Now, the challenge for us is how can academic and industrial institutions effectively build a global academic reputation, of course, in Industrial Revolution 4.0. You bring in the AI to the classroom, you bring it to the projects. Kids nowadays, I think there are no geographies. The geopolitics doesn't work because knowledge is there, knowledge is for everywhere, and a kid that dreams any part of the world impoverished, didn't have maybe resources before, all of a sudden, this whole thing is empowering everybody, everywhere, at any time, and you can make something for yourself. I think the success stories is all over the place. Of course, immigrants, that they go from one place to the other, it's a good thing, and you know who's in the lead everywhere that you look at it. So these are not just buzzwords, and it doesn't belong just only to maybe computer science or computer engineering or a technical person, but it belongs to everybody. An economist, an attorney, an artist, all of us, we have to engage with the technology and use it to our advantage. And more so probably in our part of the world, and I'm going to say maybe the MENA, the Arab world, maybe, and also the Muslim world and beyond. So we got to get on with a program that we want to call it also, instead of just Industrial Revolution, that you put it in there, monochrome monitor with some no hard drive, floppies, and things like that. Now I'm computing on and I've done some research, by the way, including Department of Defense and in industry in the US and entertainment and Disney's and stuff like that. And all of it nowadays, what you have on your mobile devices, you can do way more computing than most of us. We crunched up on supercomputers back then in the days when we ran punch cards and ran basically programs for days to come back and get you solutions. And then it's a different story how to look and interpret the results. Nowadays it's colorful pictures and you can infer anything and make something. So in a way, I think this what-if questions and scenarios, I think for us educators in higher education, we have to look at it and look at what if, our institutions, and I would say probably K-16 education, doesn't start when you get higher education is what we talk about, but it is really the kindergarten, the primary school, and so on and so forth. You want to get those kids fired up early on and have a goal of sorts as they get and polish themselves, and of course we have to nurture talent and make it happen. So we want to engage in national and global challenges from day one. And we want to probably look at course materials and make sure that we're getting them the tools that they need to compete, for one thing, but to make something for themselves, for their nation, communities, and global beyond that. So we have to look at these things and ask ourselves, how do we get this one? Now, I have a lot of slides with a lot of things, probably some factoids that you can look at and infer from it, but our part of the world is more than anywhere else. Basically, we need to do things different. Probably Arabs and Muslims, of course, as humans to start with different backgrounds. So the Arab world is the youngest, 60% of the population under 30. This presents, of course, an opportunity and a challenge at the same time. So we have to look at things. stuff like that. We've seen some talks yesterday that gave you more hard data, but also there are things, gender issues in terms of employment, like unemployment. You know, when you have masses and you educate them, you got to provide for them jobs and everything else. So they're educated, they're tax savvy. Not too many people, they know probably about Saudi, for example, where I come from right now. It's the penetration of social media and tools is probably more than anywhere else in the world. So people, they have at their fingertips information and things, and they can do it on their own. They don't have to wait for some structured learning environments. They can learn on their own. And by the way, there are some even calls elsewhere that your people out of college, to hire them is not necessarily the best way of doing it. Maybe people can learn on their own, and learning doesn't stop. That's why our philosophy at PMU is just want to be a learning community, lifelong learning. It's not just something that we talk about, but it has to be like practiced, and you instill in your graduates these kind of things. So youth and unemployment is a big topic, of course, and I will probably tell you this, since there's some success stories, of course, even our part of the world. If you look at STEM, we talk a lot about STEM, although I'm not really an advocate myself just for STEM. All disciplines are important. We need the political scientists, we need the economists, we need everybody else. But at least dear to my heart, and something that I made it my mission, is to talk about science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's a K-16. You can't get a rocket scientist just by, like, after they graduate from college and you make them a rocket scientist. Sometimes it has to be in them, that drive and commitment and seeking knowledge and getting the tools that you want. I'm so proud, at least like Brianna from Saudi and Ali, that they went into space, as probably astronauts is good, but the first Arab Muslim astronaut is also, I think it's a token of some kind of appreciation for what women can do and bring it in our part of the world. So these are some of the things that we, and of course the kids that went to the US and won some competitions in science and math. So what comes to us in here, and Dr. Faisal will speak on his behalf here, that we started something called the Arab Council of Youth. It's from the Arab League, an organization for the Arab universities, and of course, association, and Prince Mohammad Fahd University. So we brought in a platform, a framework, so we can bring in all places in here and look after the youth and take care of them. It's our job, it's our responsibility to make sure that we can do this. So we want to invest in the youth. We want to provide this platform. It can be like collecting data, exchange of information, best practices. I think what applies elsewhere applies to us, but sometimes having some indigenous people taking the lead in doing what's best for your people is the best way forward. And that's probably important. And I do appreciate, by the way, I consider myself to be the link with all my education in North America, in the US in particular, but still there's certain things that when you're here, a foot soldier, you can do it and probably make it more, probably relate to people and more credibility, and then you can bring them up to where they need to be. So this is it. We're looking at maybe partnerships between governments, businesses, educational institutions. I'm going to run through these, and hopefully these slides can be available, or we can probably start a dialogue of some of the concrete actions. And I think that's where the panel is like, you got strategies, you got plans, and people meet, and it becomes like what I call a metaphor, basically, like an Oprah Winfrey show. We talk, right? And then when you go your way, there could be probably nothing that comes out of it. It's just like, some recommendations and papers. But I do think this one will be a platform that looks at the youth and take them, and it's pan-Arabic, so it gives it that probably mandate. So we all can work together and make it for the good of our people, 400-some million people, of course, or so. And so this is some of the things we're embarking on, some of the initiatives. Some will be funded, others will be partnerships. And the more we bring into the fold of these kind of partnerships, the better we are. And the exchange of information and knowledge would be wonderful. In this venue, ISISCO and things that are going on, bringing people from different sectors of industry, government, and think tanks is the best way forward. And again, making these more than just recommendations. It's actionable items that we're going to measure, improve, and make it happen. I'm giving the stop the talk right now, and I think with that I want to conclude, and thank you for your time.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Jamal Naifeh.
Thank you, Dr. Jamal Naifeh. At least 3 reasons to be optimistic. The first one, we have done in 1 century more than we have done in 20 centuries of progress, and states are no longer prisoners of geography. I remember a book in this regard. Third, the objects of artificial intelligence are important in education, research. I must admit that as I am a professor, we have certain concern as to the use of artificial intelligence by our students. But here, you give us reason to believe that it's a positive element and not a negative element for our students. The future cannot be forecasted, but it should be prepared. And today, we have the good luck to have Dr. Alia Abu Ali, who comes from Egypt. The floor is yours, Dr. Hala Abu Ali. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you very much for having invited us. Yes.
I'm sorry. Regards. On Foresight. Into life and use modeling in order to inform the policymakers and the planners. So from what I understood from the people working on Foresight, and maybe I'm completely off the grid, so you will correct me, that it's dreaming of a better tomorrow and on different levels while having to deal with uncertainties. And there was a gentleman yesterday who said, why are we hearing uncertainties? And uncertainties are there, have been there all the time. But I think that with the mega trends and all the disruptors that are happening nowadays in a very high speed, in new issues with the technological developments, with the climate change, and many others. I don't want to keep on listing them. The list is long. It makes it more difficult, and with the high risk and the probabilities become less accurate in order to be able to use the different techniques of foresight, or maybe even having these different scenarios. It's like sometimes the worst case scenario was since I'm an economist, we had, for example, saying that inflation will hit 25%, and now we are at a 40% inflation in Egypt. So it's like even the worst case scenarios are not the most optimistic anymore. So it's this why I guess in my view that the uncertainties are having more and more importance and having more space in the foresight work. well, I'll not speak about the tools, of course, but let me take you more into Egypt. What do we do? What we do in 2016, Egypt launched a strategy of 2030, having 3 different dimensions: the economic, social, and environmental dimension. We put them into the mixer. That by 2030, Egypt will be the biggest our economists on the world. And we try to do some community service and to serve the environment also. We and environmental, where anybody behind, looking at vulnerable groups, looking at I would say, like the geographical and spatial balances in Egypt, and also trying to be more innovative and in the work we in Egypt and maybe in other countries of the region, there are sporadic spots that of having like sustainable models that that are sustain across time. So we established a modeling unit that is looking at modeling the different and trying to build the capacity of our young researchers. And also out of this, let me tell you that we believe also that working in silos is not the best way. So we tried to build even a joint modeling unit with the institute, with the Arab Planning Institute that is based in Kuwait. So we launched this joint modeling unit in May 2023, and we had actually our first workshop in May, actually. It was last week. We had even Qais with us. I don't see him in the room now. And actually, I would say, let me, because I'm flagged for 1 minute, it's like a challenge let me speak about challenges, what we come as like the challenge is like, I would say data is a big challenge in the region, that to have diversified data that is reliable and valid on a sustained period. I think it's very important. So we should give the support needed for the statistical officers in order to make the data available, because I think this is important for the foresight or for a policy making, I think. So data is key, and this is something that we really need to work on. I think that we need to strengthen the capacity, work more on a South-South cooperation. A conference
the moderator. The scenarios are and as to the New South, I would give the floor to the third speaker, Mrs. Sandra Coulibaly, Leroy, Head of Mission, in charge of missions, Foresight Experts, International Organization of la Francophonie, France.
C'est super.
I'm going to speak in French, if you don't mind. I'm not an expert in technology, so it goes without saying that we live in a world that is non-linear and uncertain. It's a world for which a foresight approach is a must. To be forward-looking and to apprehend any changes in the future. This session makes us talk about something that is challenging. How can we think about a wished-for future with an approach which is action-oriented? I'm trying to move to the... No, this is the end. I need some help. Mayday, mayday. I have 3 more minutes because I couldn't. I always negotiate more time. So think tomorrow, act today. So this is based on foresight experience and diplomats experience. And I want you to think about a world that is going to be profoundly changing. Climate changes that we talked about yesterday, values, cultural diversity, world that is more and more fragmented, but under an existential pressure. Now that I have my slides, I will talk about 3 main axes to make sure this vision is operational in the long run on the basis of an acculturation, implementation, and appropriation. Acculturation, that's you need to convince. I liked very much yesterday a speaker's presentation is what is not foresight. It's not a prophecy. It's not foreseeing. It's not programming. It's not a project. It's not planning. At the same time, it's eclectic because it is going to be based on action. So what is acculturation? Convince institutions that don't want to move from their comfort zone, that want to put themselves into question. There are political stakes that needs to be taken into account, and these institutions are supposed to operate, and many times the money is the most important thing. The second thing is to attract your attention to some key ingredients so that foresight could be impactful with a great added value. Prospect could be a kitchen, but there are some human things when it comes to implementing the foresight. The idea of leadership, the idea, how to approach foresight in terms of design thinking. Try also to federate and pool skills, and of course the question of values and ethics. So it's a question at the same time of will and accountability and responsibility. I would like to share with you, with regards to the implementation aspect, another dimension. That is to say, how to make foresight operational or practical. But we need to convince so that we could have good communication skills. We say foresight is nice, those are reports, these are studies, but it stays on the shelf. You have wonderful scenery, beautiful everything, but they stay in the drawer or on the shelf, dusting. So we need to find how we can communicate. It's in French. So in my institutional context, we have worked on 4 axes. Capacity building, through knowledge sharing, what we call lab co-pro. Foresight dialogue, That is to say, bring in experts so that you can feed in the connectivity between people, foresight, surveil. We need to be alert to the foresight. Remember, foresight needs quantitative and qualitative data. And the African adage, we never collect a stone with one finger. Partnership, working with other people, other practices, and other institutions, if not other stakeholders. And I'm thinking about the think tank, youth, women, and target population. Appropriation, implementation requires to convince what's the return on investment of foresight. What's in there for me? What's my take? So we have used some works, mapping. That is sustainable. Now, when it comes to the few recommendations that I have come up with, it's capacity building, both individual and institutional. Implementing an alert system committee, development of strategic foresight, action-oriented, and last but not least, the necessity of partnership. This is a cycle that has proven its worth and can be shown in 4 steps. This is the operational translation of Francophonie. Again, foresight is not that can be detached from any transformation. It is an aid. It's a support to decision-making, to contextualize the actions. I want to close with 2 points, if the facilitator moderator allows me, that I want to share with me, something I want you to take with you in your bag. The first one is the necessity to come up with a sustainable system of transformation that is not one shot, a vision, forward-looking action. And we go back to the cyclic idea of foresight, which is virtual. And a little joke to Fahd. We say that war is too serious to leave it in the hands of generals. Well, I can say that foresight is even more precious to leave it in the hands only of practitioners, because there is a serious stake for the world, for Africa, to democratize culture for everybody, men and women. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Sandra Coulibaly Leroy, for this excellent presentation, and thank you for having used the 3 additional minutes. I have retained 3 main ideas. The question first of the implementation, a word that came up many times, to reduce the gap between because today in Africa, for example, there are visions of Europe, based in France, a council with which Morocco entertained.
With more than 2/3 of the world's population predicted to live processes. If we are going to seize the benefits of AI, we have to start tackling the risks. Since AI is developed and used across borders, it makes sense to develop a common global approach to basic principles which use AI. Increasing reliance on automated processes and machine learning, and ensure that they safeguard the human rights of everyone in society in this fast-evolving context. The honor of being the secretary of has been tasked by the Committee of Ministers, these are the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Council of Europe, with elaborating a legally binding instrument on the development, design and application of AI systems based on the Council of Europe standards on human rights, democracy and the rule of law, and these other basic principles. At the same time, this instrument shall be conducive to tasks relevant in such contexts. Moreover, the aim is to ensure way that they do not the global instrument is truly a challenging task. It will be important We therefore call on all states of the world that uphold the values of human rights, democracy and the rule of law to join our endeavors to develop a set of shared basic principles applicable to the design, development and application of AI. Our working methods allow all observers to actively participate in the negotiations of the Framework Convention.